So, Miss Florence has what I'm gonna guess is just a fucking turkey baster full of purple liquid and it's going into her anal shaft and there's pleasure to be gotten out of it somehow and we're gonna continue with the elaborations on this. Miss Florence strained. There was a hissing noise as her belly and buttocks writhed, and the bowl was filled again in thick purple spurts from her bumhole. Dido repeated this operation 4 or 5 times until finally she ordered Miss Florence not to evacuate, but to hold the cleanser inside her shaft while she fetched a wash basin. These people need Jesus. These people need Terry Crews, Oprah, anything. When this was positioned between Miss Florence's bandaged feet, she removed the tube from the anus and told Miss Florence to close her legs, and then she lifted the bamboo pole and began to flog Miss Florence's naked fesses very hard, warning her all the while she must hold it in. Hold it in! Hold it in! You have a bunch of fucking fluid up your ass. I don't know. I don't know. Miss Florence moaned pitifully, her buttocks clenched hard, both at the pain of her vivid wheels which soon crisscrossed her naked flesh, and the effort of holding her cruel hygienic cargo within her. Dido positioned herself slightly to one side of her victim, or patient, to put her hand squarely under the writhing coo's lips, finding the clitty and frothing it as vigorously as she had flogged the buttocks. "I can't bear it," sobbed Miss Florence, after she had taken 5 or 6 dozen lashes. "Please let me gush." Dido refused, and delivered a further 50 or so strokes until the bare bottom was gleaming as livid and purple as the liquid she held inside. It was only then that Dido delivered 2 or 3 quick, swingering final strokes, and her fingers became a blur on my mistress's clitty, and she finally gave permission. Then Miss Florence arched her back and howled loudly in spasms of her climax as the purple fluid gushed from her bum-hole into the basin at her feet, mingling with the river of gleaming quim oil that sparkled on bandaged thighs. Dido removed her fist from Miss Florence's gash and sank to her knees, careful not to crumple her skirt. She pressed her lips against the distended nubbin of the clitty, which I could glimpse standing swollen and wet amid the mink curls. He is supposed to be standing in the hallway looking through a fucking keyhole. How in the shit is he seeing any of this? She kissed the clitty, then licked it with a flickering tongue, all the while with a disdainful little smile on her lips. Then she took the nubbin between her teeth and bit very gently, making Miss Florence jerk and writhe. Dido began to suck and chew on the raw, swollen pleasure bud, as though it were a lollipop. I believe Lil' Kim did a song about that very topic. The slaps on her bare, squirming fesses rang through the corridor, and I thought myself not unjustified in having imagined them crickets chirping. Dido's hand slipped beneath her own skirt. I think some frotting is gonna ensue. The spanking ceased after 100 or so firm slaps to Miss Florence's wheeled, bare fesses, and her hand balled into a fist which invaded the wet gash, pumping in and out more vigorously beneath her skirt. Is she fisting her? She's fisting herself. I remember that now. That's impressive. I mean, I would think you'd have to, dislocate your shoulder in order to do that, but you know what? Some people just have that blessing. Her face was set in grim, determined frown. Despite her professed disdain for sapphism, she masturbated both her own gash and her patient's. Love juices gushed from Miss Florence's squirming quim, and I saw Dido's stockings dampen with moisture from her own, as she panted now in the pleasure of her masturbation. Her skirt rose, and I saw her own fist thrusting into her knickerless quim. And thrust her shining fingers into the wrinkled pucker of the arse-bud. 2 fingers, 3, then to my amazement, her whole hand balled into a tight fist, which she slid in and out of my mistress's cruelly distended anus, as she screamed and writhed in her bandages. I knew she reached orgasm once more. To the music of Miss Florence's screams, Dido howled and writhed in her own spasms as she fist-buggered my shrieking mistress. I do not have the strength to continue this particular video. I will pick it up and read the rest, I promise. And thank you for the request, otherwise I never would have fucking read this. So, I will continue a little later, after I have mentally prepared.